I never expected to be estranged from my brothers as an adult, yet here we are. What it was like growing up, I have two younger brothers. We didn't have much, but we did have fun. Some of my earliest memories as a child was we had a tree house that our father had built us in a big old cherry tree in our backyard, and we would spend hours playing up there, playing baseball outside. We had little riding cars. We would ride up and down our dead end street, things like that. As a teen, there was playful teasing between me and my brothers. Like my brothers would tease me with the snake to make me scream, but it was all in fun and play. I did have awareness of how I was treated differently by my mother than my brothers. One vivid memory sticks out in my mind. Christmas time, my brothers each received a bicycle and I received a mattress. That's just one example of how I was less favored than my brothers were. We got along okay as teenagers growing up. There were no real issues, but I would not say we were close either. The estrangement with my brothers started a long time ago. In fact, decades ago, back in the mid to late 1980s. And it started with my youngest brother. And I remember he got really angry at me one day for something I allowed my two oldest children to do, who were young elementary school age at that time. They had begged me to let them write a letter to their uncle telling them, or I should say expressing their feelings to him about something he had done. And I debated it for a little bit, and then I said, go ahead and write the letter, which we did. And they sent it via snail mail to him, and he got really, really angry over that letter. Back at that time, I tried very hard to have a conversation with my brother and to mend things over that situation. And I tried to do it via some sort of messaging. It was back in the early days of computers, so I don't remember exactly what it was. And I don't do phone calls. Phone calls give me a ton of anxiety. I do suffer from anxiety, but that's another story. But anyway, I tried to make amends with him via some type of messenger, and he just flat out refused. We lived far apart, and over the years since then, I've only seen him a couple of times, maybe 2 or 3 times in all those years. And during those encounters, everything was fine on the surface. There's no talk about past issues. It was pleasant, but, just real brief, no real connection, just like any new person, hello, how are you, and go on and ignore each other, basically. The only real communication I had with my brother, my youngest brother, was through his wife, my sister-in-law, who would basically send me a happy birthday message every year, and at Christmas time she would send out one of those family gloating type mass letters to everybody in the family, like, hi, so-and-so got a promotion, I got a promotion, our child is doing that, our child got this grade in school, like that type of thing. And it would always be late, but that's them. But that's really been the only communication I've had with my brother over the years. During all those years, I didn't have any real issues with my other brother. We weren't close. We did not see each other often. Again, we did not live nearby. There was no real communication from either one of us. There were a couple of things that frankly really pissed me off. One time I overheard him being nasty to one of my children. He didn't know I heard, and still doesn't know that I heard that. It was an uncalled for nastiness when he didn't think anybody was watching. There was another instance where allegedly he tossed his kitty down his cellar steps. That came from a reliable source, but it's hearsay. So that also really pissed me off, but I never said anything. There was another time where at a family gathering for holidays, I switched the channel on the television and he got really pissed and screamed at me for no reason. I thought he was sleeping. There was no listening on his part to me saying, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were sleeping, anything. Just stupid stuff like that. But he showed this hidden type anger that I thought was really odd. No apologies later, nothing. Talking about this out loud, it sounds really stupid to me, but it is what it is, and it's my story. So let's fast forward to about a year ago. My youngest brother, the one who had got mad over the letter my daughter sent, because, how dare I allow them to write such a bad letter. But anyway, he called me and left a voicemail message about a year ago, out of the blue. And I got that message and I was literally shocked. And I thought immediately, what does he want? Is he calling to yell at me some more? What's the reason for his call? I mean, there's got to be some reason. You just don't go after 40 years and call your estranged sister just for the heck of it to talk, right? I sat on it for a little bit and didn't do anything. My wife was kind of urging me to return the call, but I had the feeling people don't change, right? So I sat on it for a few days, and then he called again and left another message and insisted that I call him back. And so this time I waited just a little bit, and then I did call him back. And when I got on the phone with him, he sounded all friendly, like we had talked all along, like every week for years and years and years. And I just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. When's he going to come out with something major, some kind of blast at me? But it didn't happen, and I was super surprised. In that conversation with me, he talked mainly about himself and things he was doing and things he had done, and he didn't seem that interested in my life, which was not a big surprise to me. But he did ask about my health, so I filled him in on that, and I was kind of surprised again, and I thought, what's up? Maybe he changed. I want to think positive about this, and maybe he's finally grown up and in his 60s and realized that we're not going to live forever, and decided he's going to be friendly and to finally let go of his grudge from all those years. It felt good, really, to have family in my life again. And over the next few months, we did exchange a few texts here and there, both of us, both friendly. And again, it was mainly all about him. And anything I would say about what I was doing, he did not seem to have any interest in it. So that went on for a little bit, and then fast forward to this last fall, and I get a text from him out of the blue, and he's angry, angry like he was way back in the 1980s, and he's angry because he had seen a Facebook post my wife had made on her own personal Facebook profile page. It was a political post stating her opinion, and he did not take kindly to that. He felt that insulted him. So he proceeded to feel entitled enough to tell me about it, and it wasn't said to me in a very nice way. Now, I'm not afraid to talk politics, and I'm not afraid to state my opinion or hear somebody else's opinion as long as it's done respectfully. Now, keep in mind that my brother has never met my wife or spoken to her, doesn't know anything about her, and wasn't even her Facebook friend, which goes along with this family gossip. So somebody in the family went and ran to my brother and told him about this post, this political post my wife made. And family gossip I talked about in another video in this series, if you want to check that out, because it does play a big part in my family. In response to his text to me about my wife's political post, I took a deep breath and I replied very respectfully. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was respectful, something like along the lines of, she didn't mean to insult you, this is just her feelings, yada yada. And he came back with another derogatory message about it. And this time I stood my ground a little bit. I did it respectfully, but I stood my ground and spoke up, and that just ticked him off to no end. And he came back with a really nasty text message to me, at which time I let it drop. So fast forward to a little bit after that, I had been posting all along my political views on my own personal Facebook page, and his adult daughter, my niece, who is an adult now, this took place last fall, right, not long before the election of Donald Trump. She came on my page all ticked off at me and literally told me to, quote, shut up, unquote. And it just got nastier from there. And then that exchange with my niece escalated. It escalated on both parts. I did start off by expressing my feelings in a respectful way, asked to talk about it decently, but got no decent response, none at all. And it just went back and forth, and she threw in some family gossip and telling me all about myself. Now, you do need to keep in mind that I don't know this girl. She lives across the country. I've only met her a very small handful of times as a young child. I've been Facebook friends with her for a few years. We don't interact. I've liked some of her posts and stuff, but I don't know her. She doesn't know me. All she knows from me is what she's been told, presumably by her father and other family members, back to the family gossip. So then there was one post from a friend of mine under that heated exchange between my niece and I, where my friend had mentioned that she should be careful about what she posts on social media politically because it could affect her job and career, which is true. And I liked the comment. I liked my friend's comment and just moved on. Well, the next thing you know, I get another text from my brother, who at this time is he never posts on my Facebook page anyway about anything. Not even all my good posts and stuff. So he wasn't partaking in any of my political things, and never had. But, obviously he was watching this heated exchange between his daughter and me on my page, and so he proceeded to send me another text, and this one was very nasty. I only read the first part of his first sentence, enough to know it was not very nice. It started out something like, "How dare you, blah, blah, blah." And I made the conscious choice to not read it, to protect my own feelings. I still haven't to this day. It's sitting there unread. But I know the gist of it was, how dare I like my friend's comment telling his daughter, like, whatever. And that was the end of any communication with my brother. So obviously that shows me he hasn't changed. Then back to the other brother, because this fits in here. My niece, during our exchange on my page, had thrown in a comment about me not stopping by and visiting her uncle, this other brother, while I was out on a recent road trip. Now, my response to her was that I'm not going to talk about this on my page, and that if my brother, her uncle, had an issue with why I didn't stop, and I had legitimate reasons, if he had an issue with that, he should talk to me himself. And next thing I know, that brother unfriended me on Facebook. So did he unfriend me because of that, or did he unfriend me because of my political views? Who knows? But that was the end of that relationship. And I don't mean to laugh, but I think the whole thing is ridiculous, honestly. How has this made me feel? Outside of the humor, which I obviously feel, because I do feel it's ridiculous, was my younger brother. Early on with that letter, it was a lot of frustration in the fact that he wouldn't talk. I'm helpless to do anything. I wanted to talk, I wanted to work it out, and he didn't want to. So it made me feel unloved, unwanted, not accepted, those type of feelings. It did make me question my parenting abilities. Was I wrong to allow my children to express their feelings? He, I believe, did not have any children of his own at that time, so who was he to know? Who was he to even talk to me about my parenting choice? Why, when he got that letter, was he mad at me? And why didn't he ever reflect upon himself and what he did to cause my children to become upset with him? Later on, with this political thing, and him contacting me out of the blue, at first I think I was mainly really angry at myself, because my initial instinct on that first phone call was just to ignore him, because I don't believe in general that people do change. I mean, yes, some can change, but in general, I don't believe they do change. And I just had this gut feeling like there was something more to this phone call. I mean, he was going to be all friendly and good as long as Jana conformed to what he wanted. And then I was angry at who he supported, being President Trump. And I'm not afraid to talk about my political feelings, but to support a president who is all about taking away my rights and the rights of other people, causing so much harm to so many millions of people, not just here in the United States, but around the world. To support that, that made me angry. It also kind of gave me peace in the fact that I really don't care about the estrangement, because I really don't care to be associated with anybody who supports that, and it doesn't matter if they're family or who it is. And it's not a question of voting differently from me. It's a question of morals. It also makes me feel insulted in that I wasn't conforming to what he wanted. I am not a person in his eyes, allowed to have my own thoughts and opinions. And he definitely made me feel like I'm less than. He's always made me feel that way. Both my brothers have made me feel that way. It's nothing I can outwardly pinpoint, but it's definitely a feeling there. It leads to a lot of speculation inwardly. Is he anti-LGBTQ? Is that part of the issue? Not just with my younger brother, but my other brother. And in fact, all of my family, or most of my family, they would never admit it, but I speculate on that a lot. More anger coming into place over the obvious family gossip. His daughter, my niece, obviously angry at me for no other reason than by what he and other family members have said about me. So, what is with these people passing on their judgment to their children? That's very anger provoking. He's definitely entitled, and it's actually very disgusting to me. And then with the other brother, where he just simply up and unfriended me for God knows what reason, without even talking to me, I can't say I'm surprised. This is a pattern in our family, you could say. And as far as I'm concerned, he's just aligning himself with the rest of the family. So what was one more family member going down the tubes? This other brother who unfriended me out of the blue, he also has an adult daughter, my niece, and we've been Facebook friends for a while, and have exchanged likes, mostly on my part. I will like her stuff and comment, not so much her on mine. But she's remained silent through all of this. But there was this one day where her boyfriend, who I've never ever met, didn't really know him at all, other than knowing he's her boyfriend from her Facebook page. He sends me a friend request one day. And come on, I'm not stupid. My other niece is like dogging me out on my page, and all of a sudden I get this friend request from somebody in the family. And so I messaged him privately, and I asked him politely, why are you sending me a friend request? What reason? And he didn't really have any answer for me, and said something really dumb like, maybe I just want to be friends with you. And I'm like, okay, like, why? And then I said, are you seeing this drama on my page with our family? And he proceeded to tell me, no, he wasn't seeing it. And in fact, that the family doesn't even talk about me. And it just progressed from there, and it was pretty friendly. And then at one point he says to me, I see the way you are. It was something along like that. And I'm like, I was taken aback, and I'm like, what do you mean the way I am? And he didn't have any answers. And I pressed it, and I said, well, what do you mean the way I am? Knowing full well that my family talks about me behind my back. And he still didn't have an answer. And I'm like, is it because I'm gay? No. Is it because of who I voted for? No. I don't remember what all I asked him, but it was like no to everything. And then all of a sudden he just blocks me. So it's obvious he just wanted to get in on this drama. In all seriousness, I do feel it's really sad it has to be this way. I feel like, okay, I'm 67 years old. My brothers are probably 65 and 66, something like that. We're all very close in age. And I feel it's too late to change. Well, never say never too late, but, you know, are they ever going to change? I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. But the sadness comes, what are they passing down to their kids? I mean, their kids are grown now, but what are they passing down? It's really sad. In my family, both of my brothers definitely were the golden child. Both of them. Goes back again to my past video about my mother, where the boys were treated better in her family than the girls. And she also treated my brothers as boys better than she treated me. And so I refer to them as the term golden child, which you may have heard. I was also the scapegoat child. I was definitely treated differently than my brothers. Like I mentioned, the Christmas they got bicycles and I got a mattress as one example. But my mom had this narrative about me while I was growing up, and it was put out there in not so many words that I was emotionally unstable, difficult, embarrassment to the family, going to harm myself, if you get what I mean, ungrateful, unthankful. That was the narrative my mom put out. And I did recently hear an expert talk about what they referred to as a scapegoat narrative. And oh my God, when I heard that, it was like, yes, finally I have an answer to how I feel. It just like resonated with me. In this scapegoat narrative, I believe neither one of my brothers are willing to acknowledge that they are continuing this narrative of being scapegoated. And I believe that they learned what they saw from my mother and they've applied it to me as an adult. I don't believe that they saw me being treated any differently as a child than they. Most likely, they were just living their life as children, and they never saw it, and, you know, it wasn't directed at them, and so they didn't see it. They didn't believe it. I'm sure they still don't believe it, and I'm sure that they would not agree with any of what I'm saying. In my case, since I am estranged from my entire family, I believe that one of the reasons nobody wants to speak out is because of fear that they will also be scapegoated and ostracized from the others if they dare go against this narrative that everybody has about me. This is definitely a huge family pattern. With my mom being estranged from most of her family and also from her siblings, and me being estranged from my mother and my brothers, and now my 3 adult daughters. My youngest brother also had issues with our mom, and I believe the other one did too. But those issues, again, were never talked about. That's part of the pattern in my family. There's no communication. Problems aren't discussed. If they're ever brought up, it's centered around anger and all that anger seems directed just solely at me, nobody else. I'm always the first one to take accountability for my part in any issue with anybody. And with my brothers, I've always had thoughts of, well, maybe I should have reached out more over the years, and I didn't. And there were a lot of reasons for that. I do believe from family gossip that I've heard that one of their issues with me is that I haven't been around. But, and this is not an excuse, there has always been distance issues, money issues. I have always earned much less than them, and hence haven't had the means to go on some of the more lavish, if you want to say, vacations that they have, or to just jump on a plane and fly across the country to visit. I do suffer from anxiety, and one of the ways that manifests is through phone calls. I get a lot of anxiety over phone calls, and so I would rather message either through a letter, text message, texting, whatever. Nobody else has ever seemed interested in that. I can express myself a lot better that way. Just in general, not being invited to a lot of things, maybe I wasn't because maybe they learned early on that I wouldn't come. Again, mostly due to expense and life, having a bunch of young children and having to work and not being able to miss work and things like that. I'm not trying to make excuses for myself and always trying to better myself. I just say, talk about it. Let's change it. Let's make it better. One thing is, I do find it super extremely hypocritical because neither of my brothers have reciprocated as far as communication and visits and texting or letters or phone calls or anything. The one brother would only send me a message or give me a call if somebody in the family passed away. So, it goes both ways, and that goes along with, I can only change myself. I can't change them. I can't fix this. They can't fix it. We would both have to want to fix it. Do I want to fix it? I'm not so sure right now if I want to fix it with them. My takeaway on all of this, if I could give any advice, maybe if only to my younger self, would be to speak up. Speak up. Don't walk around on eggshells. That's been me my entire life. Walking on eggshells and not speaking up and not speaking my truth. Because, hey, if they're going to be mad at you and they're not going to accept you for who you are, and they're not going to be respectful, they're not going to be regardless of if you're silent or if you speak up for yourself. So speak up for yourself and set boundaries. Don't allow yourself to be disrespected. Like I hid around the corner when my one brother was speaking nastily to my child. I should have just stepped right in and said, hey, you don't do that. That's not acceptable. And you make it right with my child. I should have done that, and I did not do that. So that would be my advice. Don't be timid. Don't walk on eggshells. Speak up. Have a voice. Have a voice like I never had a voice. Let them be angry. Let them be the way they are. Let them treat people in that disrespectful way. Right? Just let them. This is going on with my entire family. My entire family has scapegoated me. It started by my mother, and actually before that with her family. then my brothers, and now my 3 adult estranged daughters, which I'll be talking about in my next video. I also am going to be doing some reflections on all of the silent people in the family, the ones who don't want to get involved. Are they just as bad? I think they are. I finally found my voice and I'm using it. Stay tuned. Have a great day. Bye.